All right, we continue to gather new information from this breaking news event out of Georgia. You're seeing as police respond to a school shooting at a high school in Winder.
A suspect is in custody, and police say that casualties, though the extent of those casualties and the number, we do not know, though casualties have been reported. There are also reports that a teacher may have been shot at Apalachee High School in Barrow County. That's roughly an hour northeast of Atlanta. CBS News has not been able to independently verify this information about a teacher, though.
Video that we've been watching from the school shows emergency crews arriving there. Our Jared Eccleston mentioned that he saw dozens of ambulances on the highway and arriving at the high school. We know students have been told to gather at the football field where it's been secured. Kathy Guider joins us now on the phone. She's familiar with incidents like this when information is scarce. But Kathy, what happens next, considering one suspect is in custody, there may be some casualties, and parents still need to reconnect with their kids?
Right. Well, law enforcement's priority right now will be interviewing that one suspect. They're going to try to get as much information as they can, regarding the motive, regarding the planning, things of that nature, while other personnel on site would be working on the reunification of parents and students. So there's going to be a couple of different tracks being worked here by different groups of people.
Anna Schecter is actually here with us in Studio 57 as well, so we want to bring her in. But Kathy, don't go anywhere. We may have more questions for you. Anna is the senior coordinating producer for CBS News' Crime and Public Safety Unit. So, Anna, you are familiar, unfortunately, with cases like this. You're also a mom as well. When you're looking at and trying to assess what is happening in a situation like this, what are you looking for?
Well, we're right at the start of school. We're right after a holiday weekend. This follows, sadly, trends that we've seen school shootings around the time of holidays, the beginning of the school year. And unfortunately, it's actually become so common that we've tracked school shootings throughout the year. They happen not just inside the school. That's how we count the number of school shootings. But there's a huge number that happen in the parking lot. So they're still at the school, but they're not always counted as a school shooting. So we talk about securing the school building, and yet many shootings occur just outside of the walls of the school. So I'm looking for exactly where this happened, what kind of security plan the school had in place, and of course the numbers. We're watching. The Sheriff's Department put out a statement. I got an email from the PR person. It's still at casualties. They are not confirming reported numbers out there of the number of casualties, the number of dead and injured. And so we do not have that number at this time, and so we are holding that. But there are multiple agencies on the scene, multiple officers, as you saw, all responding to this. The call was made at 10:23 this morning, so we're a couple of hours after that. Everything is moving very quickly.
And one of the things that strikes me as you speak about the risk to students, not just on campus but near campus, is that in some cases, and it's common in the South as well, you have a type of open campus where each building will not be connected by hallways, but you'll go from building to building. We can see the football field here, which of course is wide open, but on a campus with 1,900 students that might be an open campus, how do officials secure such a massive space and so many people? I would imagine that it's effectively impossible to protect against absolutely every threat.
It's a huge challenge. And with each school shooting, we see different tactics used and a different layout of the building. And so we're almost playing a game of whack-a-mole. Like, as soon as one shooting happens, then we try to implement procedures, metal detectors, for example, to prevent the shooter from bringing a weapon inside. And yet in an open setting like that, we saw the footage, the drone footage, where you see students walking over to the football field, in the stands. There is a school is not just inside the walls of a classroom. And so there are multiple targets. It's so shocking and upsetting right at the start of the school year. We're sitting here in New York City, and tomorrow is the first day in the public school system. My kids had their first day today. And this is happening, and unfortunately, it's just commonplace in our country.
Yeah, and even though these students have been in school for, they started in August, this is still the beginning of the school year, and this is how, unfortunately, we are starting it. Kathy, as Anna was talking about all the different things that she is assessing at this moment, and I'm thinking about the reports that we still haven't substantiated yet, but that maybe a teacher was shot. Given your experience in the FBI as a special agent, what might that tell you about potential motives or what might have transpired inside the school?
Likely, and this is pure speculation, that a teacher, as an adult, tried to intervene, tried to step in, tried to stop the shooter, that they took some type of action, to prevent and protect other students, their students in the classroom or in a hallway.
Too much to ask of a teacher, but unfortunately, we do know that that heroic story is one that has played out multiple times before. We also have with us Brian Higgins, a former police chief. Brian, you have experienced the law enforcement aspect on the ground, the local authorities. How are they interacting now as this has become something that is gaining national attention, the president himself paying attention to what's happening in Georgia?
Well, we saw from the initial outset of this incident that the multiple law enforcement agencies responded. They worked together seamlessly to go into the school, and we see that at least one suspect was arrested immediately or very shortly after police responded. And then they began to work through the school to find victims and bring students out and get them reunified with their parents. That will continue. It's going to continue. They're going to continue to search that school to make sure that there are no other victims, that there are no other shooters, and they're going to work together in an investigation, investigating the shooter, any contact this individual would have with others, how the weapons were acquired, and what the motivation may be for the shooting.
And Brian, one thing you shared with us a short time ago is that you've had conversations with your son about what to do in a situation like this. Our Jared Eggleston was sharing that some parents left their cars on the road and walked to campus to reunite with their kids. Anna, I'm wondering for you also as a parent, I don't know how old your kids are, but I would imagine for any parent, you have to make a decision as to when you have this conversation and what to do in case of a school shooting incident. Have you had that conversation? And if not, when would you and how would you?
I think the key is to talk about this in an age-appropriate way, which is very challenging, but you can start talking to your kids at a younger age. There is research about how to do that, and I'm not qualified to give advice about that, but I think you have to be very careful about the age of the kids. But at this point, children should have and experts and officials have said there should be an action plan. And running in first, they've actually changed the guidance that they're giving kids. So instead of hiding, when we saw that in Uvalde with the kids being kind of holed up in classrooms, sometimes sitting ducks, they've changed their guidance. So you want to run first, get away from the situation. That is the latest guidance that law enforcement gives, which is a change from years past based on what's happened at multiple school shootings over the last few years. So that's important. Run, hide,
Fight.
and then fight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jarring that would now have to be standard education for students, and families all need to have this type of conversation. Kathy Guider, I think you may still be with us on the phone, retired FBI analyst. If you are, what's the guidance on this advice? What should parents be telling their kids to do if there is a shooting on campus?
That's tricky in some ways. Definitely you follow the instruction given to you by your classroom instructor or your principal, whoever, might be the one. But as one of your other guests said, if they're in the hallway, if they're coming out of a bathroom and they're not with an adult, a teacher, an educator, someone, then they need to make their own decision. And I too have said the same thing to my child, that, you know, you get away from the threat. Remove yourself from the threat as quickly as possible. So, you know, that kind of thing is, I think, what we want to tell our children. But if you're inside a classroom or you're with a teacher, you need to go with what that adult is telling them at that particular time.
Well, that's a really important detail, though. So if a student somehow is by themselves on campus, coming from the restroom, an incident goes down, they're alone, the guidance is get to safety. Do not be, as Anna referenced, a sitting duck. If there's no teachers around, no official guidance, get out.
Correct. Or get to a safe spot. If, you know, let's say there's a janitor's closet and it's a 2x4 closet and you can get in there and you can lock that door, that might be your best safe spot. If you feel that you have the access and the ability, physically, mentally, to get yourself out, then that may be the better option.
Run, hide, and fight. Unfortunately, those are the guidance, that's the updated guidance that we have for our children now as we are starting a new school year with this unfortunate news, a school shooting at Apalachee High School in Winder, Georgia. Scant details about the number of casualties, though we do know that the police say that there is at least one subject in custody. We are still gathering additional information, and we'll bring you that as we have it.
That's right. One suspect in custody, casualties reported. The president is aware of this and watching. The FBI is on scene providing resources and details. We've watched families anxiously try to reunite with their loved ones, and you're seeing footage here of someone, an official moments ago who had an armed, a weapon with him. We're going to continue gathering information. Stay right here on CBS News 24/7 for more.